In just a couple days' time, we will know every single team that has qualified for the FIFA World Cup. There's 6 spots remaining, and today I am going to predict who is going to make it to the World Cup. All of the playoff finals are set, and the winner of each game gets into the World Cup. Before I get into my predictions, be sure to like the video if you're excited for the World Cup. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's going to be tons more World Cup content coming your way. But without further ado, let's get into the video. The first game we are going to talk about is Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Italy. I thought both these teams played pretty well in their games. I thought Wales was the better team against Bosnia. But Italy, they did their business against Northern Ireland. They dominated possession, dominated when they had the ball. My biggest issue with them is scoring goals, and I know they scored 2 goals, but they also missed quite a decent amount of chances, but they got the job done, and that's all that matters. And I think against Bosnia, hey, they played well against Wales. Dzeko scored. He's 40 years old. I mean, credit to him. He's an absolute legend of the game. I thought the 18-year-old on Bosnia actually looked really good, and I'm pretty impressed by him. Karim Alibegovic on RB Salzburg. He's going to be a really interesting player to watch. But I think that Italy are going to win and finally make the World Cup for the first time since 2014. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Azzurri. The next game is Sweden versus Poland. Now, I expected Sweden to beat Ukraine, and they absolutely dominated Ukraine 3-1. Viktor Gyökeres scoring a hat-trick in that game. Sweden looked very good under Graham Potter. And Poland, they didn't look too convincing against Albania, but they got the job done. Still undefeated under their coach, Jan Urban. Of course, they have some really good players, Lewandowski, Piotr Zielinski. We've been talking about them for, about 10 years now, both of them. But some young talents coming into the Poland squad, like Piotr Szewski, who actually impressed me against Albania. I thought he tried to create a lot of chances, and he looked pretty good in doing so. But I actually do worry about Poland in this game, because the goal they did concede to Albania came off a Jan Benderik mistake. And Albania actually missed a couple pretty straightforward chances that, you can't be conceding. And that's not going to do well against Sweden, because they have Viktor Gyökeres, who is a goal-scoring machine for the national team. But I actually do have a feeling that Sweden is going to win. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Swedes. The next game is Kosovo versus Turkey. Now, Kosovo actually surprised me in the first game. I predicted 1-0 to Slovakia, and boy, I couldn't have been more wrong with the result or the amount of goals scored, because there were 7 goals in this game in a 4-3 thriller to Kosovo. And Turkey beat Romania 1-0. It wasn't the most convincing display. They created a lot of chances, though. It took a moment of magic from Arda Güler. It was Kadioglu who scored the all-important goal in the 53rd minute to send Turkey to this round. But honestly, I think that Kosovo are looking quite good right now. They have some really quality players. The second top scorer in La Liga, they have Aslani, who's been on red-hot form. But their best defender is going to be injured for this game, which is going to be a concern. And against the Turkey team with Kenan Yildiz and Arda Güler, that might be a problem. Now, with Turkey, we know that they can be very good on their day, but we also know that Turkey like to crumble under pressure, like we saw at the Euros back in 2021. We saw it at the Euros in 2024, and I believe this game will be played in Kosovo. So honestly, I think this game could go either way, to be fair. I think it could be a really high-scoring game like we saw against Slovakia for Kosovo. I think that this game is going to go all the way to extra time. It's going to be 2-2 after 90 minutes. But I think that Kosovo is going to win 3-2 after 120 minutes and upset the Turks. Might be a hot take, but I think Kosovo has what it takes, honestly. The last game for UEFA is the Czech Republic versus Denmark. Now, I predicted Czech Republic to beat Ireland 2-1. They beat Ireland on penalties. And I predicted Denmark to go through, and they did. Now, Denmark looked much more convincing against North Macedonia than Czechia did against Ireland. But, again, that is level of opponents. North Macedonia is definitely worse than Ireland. but I'm not going to take anything away from Denmark's performance. They played brilliantly throughout both halves of the game. Everyone played great. I was impressed by Mikael Damsgaard. Eakson, who has not been great for Lazio this season, but he scored 2 goals against North Macedonia. I was impressed by Norgard. I thought Denmark as a whole, they looked very good in that game. And Czechia, I don't think they looked as good as Denmark, but, you know, they got the job done. And they actually do have a pretty impressive streak at home that they have not lost in, I believe, 20 games at home running. And the last time they actually lost at home was in 2021 to Portugal. And when we look at the away form of Denmark, it is not great. You know, we could see an upset on the cards. I predicted Czechia to make it through this pathway before any games were even played. And you know what? I'm going to stick by the Czech side. I'm going to say this game finishes 1-1, goes all the way to penalties. Czech Republic advances 4-2 on penalties, goes to the World Cup. Anyway, next up, let's go to the Inter-Confederation playoffs. We have Democratic Republic of the Congo versus Jamaica. Jamaica did not look all too convincing against New Caledonia. They scored in the 18th minute, which sealed the victory, but I think this game is quite easy to call. I think DR Congo, they looked solid in AFCON. I know they got knocked out by Algeria in overtime, but they were missing their best striker, Risa, and I think that against Jamaica, who do not perform well a lot of the times, I mean, DR Congo is going to win. I'm going to say 3-1. And lastly, I think this is the hardest game to call out of any game that I have covered so far. Bolivia versus Iraq. I actually had Suriname advancing over Bolivia in the first round. I got that wrong. They are not afraid to attack. You know, this game could go either way. I think Iraq probably are the favorites according to most people because Bolivia are sort of altitude merchants, but, you know, we just saw them win, not at their home ground. So, I don't know. You can make an argument for both ways. But in this game, I'm going to go with Bolivia to win. I'm going to say 2-1 to Bolivia, Miguelito to score, and Ramiro Vaca to score. But those are my predictions for the final round of World Cup qualifying playoffs. Be sure to leave your predictions in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.